Now we continuation bet there. We get a call, and I'm going to follow through here. And he called me with a pair of eights, so he was actually slightly in front. And I hit a heart on the river. He had a reasonable hand, but nothing outstanding there. He probably should have shoved on the flop if he was going to play that hand. And it was 40% on the turn, so shoving was clearly the right play. Because if he'd bet, and we know our equity, we've got to call. But the reason that shoving is the best play on the turn there is because worse hands can call. He can call with a king high flush draw. I would have much preferred it if we had a pair in that situation, but because we were so shallow with his 50 big blinds, then it really kind of forces our play. But yeah, by shoving, it's basically a bluff obviously when we shove on the turn, but people can call with very, very marginal hands as well. For example, he could have called with a wrap, a lower flush draw, and no pair, and we would have won with ace high, which has happened plenty of times before. And obviously, worst case scenario is that he calls with a set, but even then, we can hit a flush, or we had a gut shot as well. So it's not an ideal situation, but absolute worst case scenario, we've got 25–30% equity. We've probably got a lot of fold equity. And we've got a lot of situations where, we're probably 40–50% favourite. And then some situations where we're even going to be a 70% favourite, where they call with just a straight draw. I've got a nice hand here in the big blind. If this is unraised when it gets to me, I'm definitely going to pop it. We can flop a lot of good draws, and we can flop a pair of aces, aces up. And we're obviously repping three aces pretty heavily. It's kind of an ideal flop, although it is quite draw heavy as well. So we're expecting that someone else is going to have caught a little piece of it. This guy obviously felt like he had a decision, but he maybe just had an ace. I think if he had a straight draw and a flush draw, he probably would have called. But we won a nice pot, and even though we had the button and we were out of position, the hand was strong enough that we could put that raise in, blow the pot up, and then take it down. This isn't a great flop here. We've got to pair, but this guy's fairly passive, so we're going to have a very good idea where we stand once we bet on the flop. And the bet there was partly for value, partly for protection, partly as a bluff. We had a little bit of everything and not much of anything there. But heads up, we're going to bet with absolutely nothing. So of course we're going to bet when we have bottom two pair. On the right hand table, we've got a really nice hand on the button. These are some of my favourite hands when you get a double suited ace high run down, and that's why, because you flop quads so often. Now it's going to be really difficult to get paid here. How I like to play quads is probably just to check and call to the river and hope someone is sitting there with pocket queens or pocket kings and actually hits one of those cards. And it's just really unlikely now. This guy has just been betting 20 cents. I don't really know what he's thinking, so we're just going to put a bluffy type raise in. I'm not really expecting to get called there. I doubt I would get called any type of bet there, unless he's maybe sitting with aces. I couldn't see him folding then. But yeah, it's a really difficult situation to get paid. Obviously the hand's really nice, but we would have preferred to actually flop something where we can have an opportunity to really outplay our opponents and get it in with good equity, rather than a flop that just has the deck completely crippled, and then the turn in the river doesn't put any higher cards up, so no one can make the overfull. I mean, of course we'll take the money, but it's kind of nice when you get a more exciting flop than that. Now we haven't got a fantastic hand here, but we can certainly see a flop. We get top pair, top kicker, so it's not a great hand in Omaha, and I'm really not that interested in fighting for such a small pot against a guy who's playing very loose aggressive. There's going to be a good chance to maybe get his money in a much better spot than that, so I'm not going to go to war over a fairly insignificant